Controversy rages on after Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, and the Heritage Foundation's president came out in defense of Tucker and said, "Don't cancel Nick Fuentes." Now, there's a bunch of conservatives who are outraged over the appearance of Nick Fuentes in many more mainstream appearances because they have done everything in their power to marginalize and shut him out, as they do not like his opinions or the things he said in the past in general. My friends, is this what will destroy the rights coalition? Is this what will rout us and divide us before we have a chance to stomp out the woke left cult? Perhaps. Because this kind of stuff is extremely demoralizing. And if this is the direction that the conservative movement wants to go, you are going to fracture. And we're going to end up with 5 different factions in the coming political election. In the coming political conflicts, I guess. And I mean, with the midterms coming up as well as protests. Because I would describe myself as like Israel ambivalent. But increasingly, on the left and the right, you are getting this adamant demand that you either reject and denounce Israel or support it outright. And my attitude is, what? All of these Israel first people, the only thing they care about is Israel. Israel. Jeez. Beam Dream. Hey, they help keep the lights on here. This is what we got to do, right? But I got to be honest, I'm a big fan of Beam Dream. When we first got sponsored, I said, okay, this looks interesting, right? I'll try it out. Tastes great. I tried one. I thought it was fantastic. You can go to shopbeam.com/Timcast and pick up your Beam Dream nighttime sleep aid. But let me tell you, after about a week of taking it every night, because it honestly just tasted good, my sleep improved dramatically. It's not an exaggeration. I got a sleep tracker. I'm usually hitting the 90s range now. I was in like the high 80s. Now I'm in like 95 consistently. I love it. So Beam Dream, it's got magnesium, it's got L-theanine, it's got melatonin. For me, I think the magnesium is really what I was lacking. Skate a lot, and so I would get cramps at night. It would affect my sleep. I've been sleeping like a rock. I'd say a baby, but you know, babies wake up screaming in the middle of the night. So go to shopbeam.com, shopbeam.com/Timcast. You can get up to 50% off. Check it out, Beam Dream. Thanks for sponsoring the segment. I think that the people who believe Israel is the greatest ally and the greatest threat are both Israel first, because I am ambivalent. It's another country. We give them aid. We give many countries aid. We should not be giving aid out to all these foreign countries. But here we are. This is the state of the modern right. Now, I will say this too, with much criticism to Tucker for seemingly being so focused on this. And I'm not saying he's not allowed to be. I'm saying it seems to be a growing disproportionate segment of the ideas being espoused by many individuals on the right. And my attitude is like, I'm sitting here over being like, we're trying to win a midterm here because they're trying to put weird books in schools for kids, and they're threatening to burn down buildings and riot. Antifa and Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there's a segment of the right that literally has just become enthralled by the subject of Israel, either for or against. Well, here's the latest story. And I do think this is particularly relevant. And I will add this to the story. We booked Nick Fuentes because, in all seriousness, in full transparency, the censorship on YouTube is pulled back a bit to where we feel it is now possible to actually have the guy on the show. We've had worse leftists on the show. I imagine we'll debate some of these issues. That's about it. But we got attacked, Timcast, I say we, by these conservatives who are like, no one should ever be allowed to have that conversation. And that's when I'm just like, y'all are retards. Okay, I'm just so over this. You cannot defend when I debate a leftist who wants child sex changes and be like, yeah, you get him, Tim. And then I'm like, oh, Nick's going to come on too. And they're, no, don't do that. What? We bring anybody of political prominence or relevance to have these conversations. And they get when we debate it. Yeah, but we can see where we're going. Well, Free Beacon ain't holding any punches. Yikes. Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts said conservatives should not be canceling Nick Fuentes. A 27-year-old Hitler and Stalin supporter said Wednesday that Jews who can't get behind his worldview should get the F out of America and go to Israel. Okay, well, I don't watch Nick. I've seen a handful of his clips on domestic stuff because I don't care about the issue of Israel. I don't care about Israel. But I believe the context here was he's basically saying, you've got a lot of people in this country that are saying Israel's our greatest ally and we should be funding and supporting them. And more than that, right? There are people who are legitimately more supportive of Israel than the United States. And I believe what he was saying was, if you like Israel so much, why don't you marry it? Go there instead. Roberts made the remarks in a videotaped statement intended as a defense of Tucker Carlson, whom he described as a close friend. Carlson came under criticism this week for hosting Fuentes for a friendly 2-hour interview. Quote, I disagree with and even abhor things Nick Fuentes says, but canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And he is correct. And that's why I, too, will defend Tucker Carlson. Tucker's famous. He has ideas that people want to hear, and you have no right to tell him what his opinions should be. So y'all can just F off. And I especially am not playing this game where people are trying to threaten us or force us what to host or not host certain individuals. Bro, the last thing you want to do is try and make me do something. I'm a lot like Charlie in this regard. In that viral text where he was like, if you push me, I'll go the other way. When they were like, cancel Tucker, he says, okay, I'm putting Tucker on the main stage. You want to play games like that? You tell me not to have somebody, I'm going to have them faster than you can. You can say canceled. Now, I think Fuentes got a lot of quotes that are really bad. Fuentes delivered an anti-Semitic tirade in the wake of an interview describing Jewish commentators from Josh Hammer to Mark Levin and Laura Loomer as despicable pieces of ish who will never be American and should get the F out of America and go back to Israel. Well, I think the issue here that they're criticizing was his crass and crude attack. But if his point is, and that's what I would say to Nick, I've said this to a lot of people who are very anti-Israel. If you approach it academically, you win, right? If Nick Fuentes said of Josh Hammer, Mark Levin, and Laura Loomer, if he said, I believe they care more about Israel than the United States, and if that is the case, perhaps they should go live in Israel and work to make Israel great. Point would be taken. But when you are derisive and insulting, you ice yourself out from the debate because, well, you're kind of a dick, bro. Kind of a dick move. I don't know that I agree. I mean, I would say this of Laura Loomer and Josh Hammer. They seem to be fine. I have no issues whatsoever. Mark Levin, he's okay, but man, the dude really slathers it on thick for Israel. And I'm sitting here being like, dude, I'll say it again. The Israel first people, and that means pro and anti, I am just, it is so cringe to me. Roberts did not address those remarks or any of Fuentes' other head-turning statements. He claimed Hitler had aura. He also has made statements to rejecting the Holocaust. We will always defend our friends against the slanders of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda, Roberts said, though he did not identify whose agenda Carlson's critics were allegedly serving. Carlson, he said, remains, and as I have said before, and will always be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. On Carlson's podcast, Fuentes decried the influence of organized Jewry and described himself as a fan of Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin, who reportedly canceled a person or two. Carlson pledged to circle back to that, but never did. Roberts also accused Carlson's critics of unduly focusing on the right rather than uniting against the left. Sitting with Fuentes, Carlson took a different tack, arguing that Christian Zionists like Trump official Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz have a brain virus, and accusing them of Christian heresy. Fuentes thanked Roberts for his courage in defending Tucker against the Israel first woke right. I don't know that I would describe Nick Fuentes as Israel first. Maybe. What I mean by Israel first is we had a guy, and I'll explain why. We had a guy in the show on Timcast IRL, and one of our callers from the Timcast Discord asked about the fentanyl crisis. Within 30 seconds, the dude was talking about Israel. And I'm like, my brother, we are talking about the fentanyl crisis. How did you get to Israel? We had, I used to have I don't know. It wasn't a Discord server. What did we have? I can't remember. It might have been Discord. But years ago, I had a member server. And we shut it down and we restarted a different one. And we now have the Timcast Discord server. It's got rules. And the problem that I faced as an individual running this was every time I would go into the Discord, there'd be people there just screaming about Israel like psychopaths. And we had to ban them. And I would repeatedly say, guys, you are allowed to criticize Israel, but this is a news commentary server where we talk about the issues of the day. If I come in and I see the same people talking about Israel, you're getting banned. And they'd be like, Tim won't let us criticize Israel. Here, I'll give you an example of what I was talking about. This is not a joke. One specific example was I opened, and this is 2018 or whatever. I opened up the Discord and I'm like, hey guys, what do you think's happening in the news today? And there's, a back and forth going on. And someone said something like, Chicago pizza is better than New York pizza. And then I'm laughing, being like, well, got to hand it to him there. And I don't mean deep dish. That's tourist pizza. We mean the Chicago tavern style square cut with that firm crust. I kid you not. Here's what happened. Someone goes, have you ever tried any pizzas outside of Chicago or New York? Because you can get good pizza anywhere, to be honest. And then someone else said, oh, yeah, right. Try getting pizza in Detroit, the Detroit pizza and blah, blah, blah. And then someone says, what about pizza outside the United States? This dude, this one guy, he goes, what about pizza outside the U.S.? Have you been to any other countries? And then someone says something like, I've had pizza in Italy, right? But it's not the same. It's like focaccia bread. And then this guy says, I once had pizza in Israel, and it was pretty good. And the other guy goes, oh, yeah, wow, Israeli pizza. What was that like? And then he says, yeah, it was basically this. The thing about how Israel operates, and I was like, bro, I'm banned. Get out. This is what was happening. I would say, hey, guys, there's big news. Trump is being accused Russiagate. And then somebody would be like, man, these people going after Trump are crazy. They're accusing him of being a traitor. And then another guy would be like, there are a lot of traitors in this country because Israel. And I'd be like, stop. We are talking about Russiagate. And this is what they would do. For this reason, I nuked the whole Discord. And there wasn't a lot of people in it. But the issue was basically that we had been infiltrated by these Israel First people, that no matter what news subject you'd bring up, they would segue into Israel. And I'd be like, what is going on? And it seemed like a coordinated attack. Like they were trying desperately to get people to hate Israel, despite the fact that Israel was not the subject at hand in the mainstream news cycle affecting Donald Trump. It is retardation. Now, I do think a lot of it's retardation. I think a lot of it is paid propagandists from other countries and obsessive individuals in the United States, a combination of factors. But when you have someone go, hey, how was your day? My day was pretty good. I don't mind the weather. It's been sunny out. Oh, yeah, I can't stand the rain, man. When I was in Israel, it was raining all the time. Oh, Israel, don't get me started. The weather there. Yeah, well, it's not made easier by how the government works there, because when it comes to the rain, they're not going to, oh, I'll tell you this. Yeah, but the government's got other problems. I mean, have you seen and you're like, what? This is the Israel derangement syndrome. When we had this journalist on the show, someone said, oh, what's going on with the fentanyl crisis? And he goes, well, the fentanyl crisis is a big deal because there's people who are, prescribed these drugs and then they get addicted to them. Next thing you know, they're trying to buy it off the street. When they can't get it from their doctors anymore and they're still addicted, they need to, otherwise they have withdrawals. So they go on the street and they start buying drugs. But the cops, of course, are tracking and surveilling these guys. There's guys who are selling it. So these innocent people who have been made addicts, all of a sudden now, they are buying from these dealers, and the dealers are being surveilled by this tech that is being used by all these police departments and sent up by the federal government to go after these people. And it's built and it's funded by these pro-Israel forces that ends up putting Americans in jail. And see, what happens with Israel technology is they're doing all the surveillance tech, and you've got these families in Israel, what they're building it for in the war. Now, we got Iran, and I'm like, stop. What? This is what they do. Now, I'll tell you this. We invited Nick on the show, and I don't think Nick does that. I've not seen a lot of his content, to be fair. But when people started claiming Israel killed Charlie Kirk, then Nick actually had a viral clip where he was like, can we stop with this? Like, are you kidding me? He's like, he called it conspiratard BS. And that's what I'm talking about. That within like 12 hours, Ian Carroll was like, Israel did it. And I'm like, oh my God. That's derangement syndrome, okay? That's Israel derangement syndrome. You can criticize Israel. You're allowed to believe Israel and Mossad are doing crazy things and trying to manipulate and subvert the U.S. government. That's always been allowed. But when you segue every conversation so you can just whack off on camera to how you hate Israel, holy crap, you've got a mental problem. And then what happens when I say this, they go, Tim Sig, you can't criticize Israel. You are retards. You are all retarded. All of you. I have many friends who hate Israel, criticize it, believe its government has untoward influence in the United States. That was always allowed. But these people who have Israel first derangement syndrome, oh, Lord have mercy. And look, I'll say this too. The people who are hyper obsessed with being allies with Israel and Israel can do no wrong and all that stuff, yeah, I'm right there with you. Man, are they cringe. And you know, I tell people this who are very pro-Israel, I'm like, guys, y'all sound like retards. Okay, when you go online and like you're spam blasting how great Israel is, you know, an example would be, I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but somebody made it was like this Tucker Carlson. This is why I'm doing a video on it. Someone made a comment about Tucker Carlson, and then these high-profile personalities quote tweet it with all caps, like attacking them. And I'm like, holy crap, dude, chill out. Like the pro-Israel PR is just miserably bad. But then I'm also going to add this too. When we announced Nick was coming on the show and these conservatives started attacking us, these pro-Israel people, they're like very much, it's the same people. They're very much DeSantis people. And they behave in very much the exact same way. And it's like, oh, geez. I'm not interested in your weird emotional psycho problems. I'm not interested. So there you have it. I'm Israel ambivalent, you know. I don't care if it's China lobbying the U.S. government, Israel, Ukraine, or whatever. I think America first and secure our borders and our interests, and we should stop being beholden to these foreign countries. Whatever. I'll leave it there. That was fun. Stay tuned. More to come. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in the next segment.